what you need as a mindset to move forward. So let's talk about more of a concrete examples of budgeting and how that can help you in the future, and especially things like times like these where there's a pandemic happening, and that fund would have been really helpful, like an emergency fund. And then if you do recommend an emergency fund, how long should that be, and then what people should think about like that sort of thing.
Okay, so this is a multi-side question, so I'm gonna try to kind of cover all dimensions very quickly.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about budgeting,
Yeah.
uh, I'm gonna give a quick formula to
Okay.
start off.
Yeah.
I hope anyone or when people are watching this, they
Hmm.
kind of take a note with this area,
Yeah.
and maybe we'll talk more details.
Hmm.
So basic budget, 50% goes into your needs, the things you absolutely cannot live without: food, water, rent, da 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 da. Needs, they're not gonna change, they're non-negotiables. Okay.
Hmm.
Now 30% will go into your wants, the cool whatever, because wants are important. What did I tell you before we jumped right straight before to this call, Mo? What do I love?
Oh, you love customizing your clothes.
Here you go.
Yeah.
That is a want. I want to do this because I
Hmm.
think it's super cool for me. And you know what? This is something I'm willing to spend money on because it brings me happiness.
Yeah.
So, you know what? You gotta have a space in your budget for happiness, in order for you to keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, the third one is savings. 20%. I will tell you this. At least 20%. Some people will say, "Well, do 20%." At least the bare minimum of your savings should be 20% of your
Hmm.
income. Now, this amount is a non-negotiable. You should have that happening. It's monthly. It's a cash flow. Cash flow is coming in. It's happening. Non-negotiable. Okay. So yeah, we said 50, 30, 20. Now you asked me about the emergency funds.
Yeah.
Now, first, you should, of course, develop an emergency fund. How to get there? I just shared 50, 30, 20.
Hmm.
Now, an emergency fund looks something like this. It is access to funds, and I'm using my words very carefully. It's access to funds at hopefully no or little interest rate to cover you in case of an emergency for at least 6 months.
Hmm.
Okay? An emergency fund looks like this. If I were out of job, do I have enough money to make me sustain life for the next 6 months?
Hmm.
Sustain life as it is right now with no changes. So I live on a $5,000 budget, $6,000 or whatever. Do I have enough money if I were laid off from work today? And a lot of people, unfortunately, were laid off, and they
Yeah.
were discovering, oh shoot, I should have had emergency fund.
Hmm.
That sucks. Now I'm stuck, and I hope the government does a program to give me money. If you're relying on this, there is a problem. I think they did a study. I think, what was it? Um, I think, was it 20% of Canadians said they would run out of money if
Oh,
something like this. What?
the number was even higher. 20%, more than 20%. I don't know what the exact number is. People are living to paycheck, and if they had a emergency of $500, they would run out of money. If they got into an accident that was worth more than $500, they
Yeah.
would run out of money. It would be a big problem.
So when looking at these things, this is crazy. You should have something in place now. An
Yeah.
alternative
Hmm.
that is in place for some people is, of course, lines of credit. At
Yeah.
a low interest rate, their access to funds. This is survival mode I'm talking about,
Hmm.
right? I'm talking about, the line of credit will be there, hopefully at a low interest rate, but you're getting yourself into debt. You
Yeah.
can pick yourself up in a few months. But a lot of people have it there secured even against their homes. I
Hmm.
think it's one of the very good options is have people having secured lines of credit.
Hmm.
That is at a low interest rate, and usually the limits are very high,
Yeah.
so that you can sustain life for a while, and then you know manage with refinances. There's so many things you can do that kind of fix the formula or use your home equity. If you don't have that,
Hmm.
of course, having savings is the way to go.
Hmm.
But bottom line is, especially if you're getting your first job out of college or something, bottom line, you should have you should be establishing that base. I will say this: you cannot build an apartment with
Hmm.
no base. It will fall
Perfectly said.
down.
Yep.
If something, I'll give you another example of when I did the investment with the real estate property. I just can't go and say, well, I can afford the property, I'm gonna buy it. This will be them.
Hmm.
But what wouldn't be them is I have the money for the property and I have the money to fix the property in case anything happens. I have an extra money for emergency in case anything happens. Because if anything happens and I'm not prepared, then I actually go more into the negative, so it becomes a big liability against me.
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest things is people gotta understand, and it's boring. It's so boring. The stuff I'm
Finance
talking
is
about
boring.
is,
Yeah, finance is boring, but it's necessity.
you know, it's important. It's like, who said it before? When I was first working in the advisory field, I had a boss. I was saying, well, you're a doctor. You're like a doctor, right?
Hmm.
People will hate coming to you, but they have to come to you, right?
Exactly.
It's like, it's a medicine that is a pill that is very hard to swallow, but if you don't, you're gonna be very sick.
Yeah. No,
I hope
man.
that makes sense.
No, of course, that makes a lot of sense, man. You touched on a couple of topics, man, that we can dive right into it. But yeah, it's just people need to seek valuable information and just learn from it. And then it's the boring stuff that's really like, when you're in high school and then certain things look so flashy, and then from the outside, like, yeah, man, like, I want that. But once you get older, it's actually the contrary that really matters in life. And the older you get, the wiser you get, the more it makes sense for you to go after. And yeah, going back to the emergency fund, man, it's almost like a necessity. You have to get through it, whatever you can do. And I was thinking the saving number was going to be much higher than 20%. I was thinking like 35, 40, and if you can afford it, right? And sometimes people just they make the necessity their clothes, their cars, and then you really have to take that into account. Is that really, really, really necessity? Because you can't fool yourself.
Yeah.
You just
You see,
can't.
I put the 30% as a
Yeah.
monthly amount for a want. So I
Yeah.
put a car under a want. When
Mhm.
next time when you look at someone who
Mhm.
has flashy thing, I don't care, but
Yeah.
good for them. Honestly, if someone is happy, you
Mhm.
know. But when I look at it, I'm like, okay. So I hope that this person, first of all,
Yeah.
this is within their 30% of
Yeah.
their income.
Mhm.
And now, if it's within 30%, are they using all their wants allocation on one object? That's
Yeah.
scary. So they
Mhm.
cannot eat out,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of thing. So I just think about it and say, well, as long as we're within these ranges, it should
Mhm.
be.